Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. You can blame the little delay on me since we were just getting back from another event, but I appreciate that it is Friday afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. As you know, I recently had the opportunity to speak locally and nationally about the issues of harassment, bullying, and the Me Too movement, and safe workplaces in response to a series of high-profile issues across Canada, indeed around the world. During my comments, I referenced that my government has been actively developing new modernized policies for our more than 8,000 employees in government departments and the House of Assembly. This work has included many conversations with groups and departments, and I want to thank our community groups and the many loud voices that have kept these issues front and center. I would also like to thank everyone who has worked on this policy for their valued contribution and their perspectives as we move towards more inclusive and respectful workplaces and communities. I'm so proud and fortunate to live in an age and in a province where discussions on harassment and bullying are met with open ears and minds. Conversations are the first step in making actions happen. Silence is never the answer. My government is fully supportive of creating an environment where any person that has been harmed can come forward and have their voices heard. The actions that we take daily have consequences on the people we work with and pass on the street. We are all human beings. We all deserve respect. As an employer, the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador is committed to offering our employees a workplace that treats people with dignity and respect. Today, I'm pleased to join Minister Cody, Minister Osborne, to announce our new strengthened and modernized Harassment Free Workplace Policy. Today marks an important step in creating safe and healthy workplaces. We are also closely following the proposed federal changes to the Canadian Labour Code and will work with stakeholders to determine what changes may be required to any provincial legislation. This spring, we will be making legislative changes to better support victims of domestic violence. Progress happens when people work together. We must continue to be responsive, progressive, and while we currently have the policies in place, we have to acknowledge that we are in an ever-changing environment. Our actions must always be forward-looking, with an ultimate goal of preventing harm and protecting people. I would like now to invite Minister Osborne to discuss our new policy. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Premier. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us for this very important issue. Harassment in the workplace is a very serious issue, and it cannot be tolerated. The provincial government, like all employers in our province, must be committed to improving our approach on this very issue. The Harassment Free Workplace Policy emphasizes the importance of prevention and provides support for core government employees. It will increase accountability for those in authority and will improve our processes for complaint resolution and formal investigations. This policy incorporates all 15 recommendations from the Reuben Tomlinson report, but it also goes beyond these recommendations to include best practices from other jurisdictions. We are putting forward what we feel is one of the most progressive policies in the country. It is not just an amendment to an old policy, but a new approach to this issue within our government. I would like to take a moment to walk through some of the highlights of what we have included in this policy. The policy is focused first and foremost on prevention, to ensure that all employees understand their rights and responsibilities under the policy. We are making training on the policy mandatory for all employees, including management. Another prevention measure is around bystanders. Under this new policy, all individuals in the workplace who aren't involved in harassment but who witness it will now be able to report these incidents to the Harassment Free Workplace Manager. We are also updating the definition of sexual harassment in our policy to include gender-based discrimination or insults. Discrimination against anyone for their gender or how they identify themselves will not be tolerated. And we wanted the policy to reflect this. By ensuring employees are aware of the policy and what constitutes harassment, and by empowering bystanders, we are hoping to prevent most instances of harassment in our workplace. Another area of focus is on the streamlining of the processes. We are instituting a 90-day timeline for completion of all harassment investigations. To achieve this ambitious time frame, additional staff will be designated within government, departments, and will be fully trained along with the current roster of investigators to assist and/or conduct investigations. Government has already put in place a full-time harassment-free workplace manager who is solely dedicated to managing all aspects of this policy and its procedures. This manager is responsible for coordination of harassment investigations and acts as a single point of access for employees who have harassment complaints. This will ensure that all complaints are addressed in a consistent manner. This policy was established or has established various communication checkpoints for both complainants and respondents in order to provide them with regular updates as the complaint progresses through to resolution. A final focus of this policy is on accountability. This process is complaint-driven, meaning that a complaint shall be automatically subject to a formal investigation if requested by the complainant. Furthermore, failing to respond adequately to harassment is in itself a violation of our policy. These individuals will be subject to disciplinary or corrective action as appropriate. Through this policy, we are looking to ensure that the provincial government is a workplace that is free from harassment. Members of the public service deserve to be safe at work, and we have kept that fully in view when developing this policy. In closing, I want to thank all officials who are involved in the development of this policy and procedures. I would like to recognize them for their work, their tireless efforts, and for making this a reality. Thank you, and I now invite Minister Cody to make remarks.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Osborne. I'm pleased to speak today as Minister responsible for the status of women. We're at a tipping point in our society. We've seen how the Me Too movement, the telling of harassment, abuse, and violence against women has taken hold in the United States, around the world, and indeed right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Women with strong voices are speaking out about what is happening to them, their sisters, their friends, their work colleagues. Violence and harassment are not acceptable in any form, at any time, or in any place. Today, our government has introduced a progressive policy to ensure a harassment-free workplace. We all have the right to feel safe and secure in society. Our government is working closely with the community toward preventing violence in all forms and in all places. The Action Plan for Violence-Free Communities is one way government works with its partners to prevent and eliminate violence. This is a living document that is responsible to the needs of our community. Actions are also underway to end harassment and violence in other ways, including initiating legislative and policy review of the Schools Act and Safe and Caring Schools policy, and including harassment as part of the review of the Municipalities Act. We've established a Ministers' Committee to address issues of violence and harassment. The Committee on Violence Against Women and Girls, which is chaired by the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, Andrew Parsons, and Linda Ross, CEO of the Provincial Advisory Council on the Status of Women, has held meetings with stakeholders in December and is continuing to work to provide a safe environment in our province. our government is taking a strong stand against violence and harassment, and it is up to all of us working together as a community, as a society, and as a government to address the issues of harassment, bullying, and violence. I encourage all Newfoundland and Labradorians to be part of the solution, to continue the discussion, and to take a stand against violence and harassment. Thank you.